What's up, my dudes? Jesse Mails here, Backwater Fly Fishing. Hopefully you guys checked out the last video we just posted on Tuesday. It was covering a really cool little redfish crab fly for wintertime. It's a dark color pattern, large silhouette, and I wanted to talk about one of the techniques we used in that video because I've talked about crab flies at length from all different sizes, from bonefish, permit, redfish, you name it. We've talked about it, and I've covered a number of different really easy ways to build the body of the crab. I know when I first started tying crab flies, that was always the struggle. You know, you have like the Kwan style heads, you have foam, you have furry foam even. You have like the raghead style. There's a bunch of different options out there to build heads on crabs. Some of them are more complicated than others. Some of them take a lot of time. Some of them take a lot of intricacy. Like if you're going to build a really neat looking Kwan style head, that takes some practice. So for beginners, where do you start? What skills do you want to learn? And how could you start tying effective crab flies very quickly? I'm going to show you guys that today. And if you like this channel, smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, big news, if you want to help support the channel, we do have our Patreon page, Backwater Fly Fishing. Patreon page that you can go and sign up for. There's memberships from $2 a month all the way to $8.99 depending on the level of your membership. And we have about 50 tutorials up there that aren't on this channel. So if you want to gain access to those, go and sign up for the Patreon page. If you just want to drop a donation, there is a link below where you could donate directly to my LLC, Backwater Fly Fishing, through PayPal. So it's super simple. The link will be down in the description. Now, today's video, I'm not going to edit it up like I normally do. We're just going to walk through the process of how we're going to build these bodies. And we're going to be using this little product right here. And this is an EP Crustaceous brush. It's super thick. You can see how thick this brush is. And what this does is throws a ton of fiber down onto that hook shank. I'll show you how we do this in a minute. And then we just trim it into the shape and the size that we want. So we're going to be starting with a fly that's already tied, and all we have to do now is put the body of the crab. This is sort of just a generic crustacean pattern for redfish, and this brush does a great job finishing it off. So we're going to kind of use that brush to finish the fly, and I'll just take you guys along with me. We'll go step by step. It's going to be a little bit slower than normal, but we'll show you how we tie it in, palm rate, pluck it out, and trim it to the desired shape. And let's go. Alright, my guys, so here we go. We have our generic sort of shrimp fly on the vise. We've already tied everything except for the crab body that we're going to put on this. So all we're going to do is take this Crustaceous brush, and I showed you this in the previous video, but it was in fast forward. And I know when I was starting out, sometimes things like this were good to see in sort of like a real-time scenario. So we want to bring this back up here. And if you guys can hear a bunch of noise going on, that's the wind. It's super windy at my house today, so I got all these things, bushes and stuff blowing around. So we want to take this brush and we're going to tie it in right where we want it to start. And then bring our thread all the way back up in front of these eyes. Now all you got to do with this is pull it backwards towards the tail of the fly and start wrapping around. Okay, make sure you don't cut your legs in there. Make sure you don't catch any of these fibers either. And we just want to keep hammering this forward, and it's going to look like a mess. Alright, we just want to make tight wraps moving forward. Okay, and this brush is pretty thick, so you don't necessarily need to do a ton of wraps, but we just want to be going kind of right on top of the other as we move forward. Once we get to our eyes, okay, there we go, we just hit our eyes, and we can sort of just make a part in the brush like this, so we're not trapping a ton of fibers. And if we trap fibers, we're going to trap them back towards the hook. If we do, that way they're not going forward and covering the eye of our hook.
And we just want to make some tight wraps right there. Get a pair of scissors you don't care about. Come in real close and trim off. And then use your thread to start kind of cover up some of those fibers and just finish off the fly pretty clean. Pulling everything back away from the eye so we're not trapping those fibers over top of it. And then you can actually just whip finish the fly right here. A few whip finishes. There we go. Now we want to pick this out. If you have a brush, you could brush it out. I simply just use one of these little guys and pick it out. But if you're in a hurry or something, you got a nice strong brush, you could brush it out pretty evenly. I'm just going to move around, pick this out like so. And that obviously ends up looking pretty ridiculous at first. And this is where trimming the fly afterwards is going to really make this thing look cool. And obviously that was an easy step. Tying it, palmering it, and picking that out is nothing. Now, we want to be careful. What we want to try and do is trim it flat on the top and flat on the bottom and leave these sides going straight out. So what I like to do is just pinch some of this top, kind of get everything up in the top, get my scissors in there, and make sort of a tight cut right across the top, all the way back to the hook, and thin out some of the sides. Okay. Make sure you don't cut your eyes off when you're doing this, or your legs. There we go. We got the top pretty much dialed in there. Now we'll flip it over. We're going to do the same for the bottom. Try and just trim off what you know is the direct bottom of the fly. And you could leave a little bit of shag here on the back if you want. Start trimming that out. Just like that. And now we have these big sides on here, which are obviously a little too big. So what we want to do is now kind of form our body. What I like to do is pull all of the fibers out and pinch them. And then we're going to come in at this angle, and as we get to the halfway mark, we're going to turn back in. So you might be able to see this pretty good from your angle. We get about halfway through, and then we come in. And then we can make that a little bit more perfect. About like that. And we'll flip over and do the same for this side. Start cutting out and then come in. If you have some curved scissors, obviously that's going to work really well for this. I don't, so we just have to make do with what we got. And as you can see right there, we have a really full looking crab body. This thing in no time has turned out really nice for us. Okay, and you just make a few little changes, clean it up a little bit. You'll actually trim this top portion shorter than you might think. I mean, almost flush. And that's looking really nice, actually. You know, this is also a great way with these natural colors to do permit flies. This is, you know, in my mind, I tie stuff for redfish most of the time. But that's our crab body, and that looks super good. Now we're going to drop just a little bit of UV gel on the front here. Cover up all our thread. Just like that. Whoops. Zap that. And there we go. Alright guys, so right here you can see just how easy it was to build this crab body, and we easily ended up with a fly that's going to fish super well. You can see both sides of this are perfectly even and full. We didn't have to do any type of you know, Kwan style head. We just easily came up with a fly that's going to fish super well and looks, I mean, that looks fishy. I don't care who you are, that's a fishy fly. And honestly, if you're going to be doing tarpon toads, that's a perfectly acceptable way to do tarpon toad heads too. And these brushes come in a ton of colors, and yeah, they're fishy.
Alright, so there you go, my dudes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Also, if you want to help us out, be sure to check us out on the Patreon page or click the donation link for PayPal in the description of this video. And hopefully you guys are enjoying all this content. We got some more stuff planned in the future that's coming. We're trying to do at least 2 videos a week, plus what we do on Patreon. And we couldn't do that without your support. So thank you guys so much. And we'll catch you later. Deuces. Hasta luego.